beautiful friends, Xenia again here with the Moon Tarot Talk for the new moon in Sagittarius. So yeah, we are almost done with 2020, the year which lasted 15 years. But look, we are slowly but surely approaching the end of it. And I suppose I finally have some good news, because I think that all the nations we were looking at recently, they were extremely heavy. They brought lots of turmoil into our lives, but finally I think that this new moon in Sagittarius, it is like the spark of new life. It is like the ace of wands, you know, speaking in tarot terms, and I think that it will bring us beautiful new beginnings. So we'll have a look at absolutely, like, you know, as always, at cards and at symbols which are around this new moon. And to begin with, as you might know, it's happening on the 14th to 15th of December, so mid-December, and it serves, I don't know, if you like classical music as much as I do, you know, like the overture to the, I don't know, to the opera or to something big performance, when the orchestra is tuning in orchestra pitch and then the overture starts, like first notes. So in my opinion, this new moon is exactly like the overture to the great event, which is moving of Saturn out of Capricorn on the 17th of December, and then the royal conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter at 0 degrees Aquarius on the 21st, winter solstice. And I think that many topics that are started during this new moon would be fully manifested during the time of the great conjunction. And yeah, and that's why I think this new moon is, for a change, so hopeful and so full of kind of breeze of fresh air. Let me know, by the way, how the eclipse and the full moon of Gemini happened to you. It was an absolute disaster for me. I did a reading for myself. I got like Tower and 10 of Swords and so on. It was a big kind of like change for me, I'd say. I asked a few people around, was the same for them. And all the events were truly mercurial in nature, truly like Geminial in nature, because it was all related to like communication, talking to people, getting some information which used to be previously concealed, and information which just doesn't allow the state of things to remain where they used to be. So it's like a big, what you call it, like earthquake, like thunderstorm, you know. That's how I felt, for example, the eclipse in Gemini. It was an extremely heavy lunation, but I think this one, it is like, this Gemini eclipse is sort of like, has shaken all of us, and it has emptied the terrain, and now like something new can finally grow on it. So like, as I said, this 2020, it was really a massive preparation for a big transformation, for a change, for the new beginnings in the lives of myself, of so many people that I know. And it just tells us that, yeah, many people believe that Earth starts vibrating differently starting 2021. And so it's like, you know, you adapt or you lose. So that's all we can do. But yeah, but closer to this new moon in Sag. So the moon is, obviously it's a new moon, so it is about the conjunction of moon with sun, I suppose at 23 degrees Sagittarius. And it is also almost conjunct with Mercury, because Mercury is at 20 degrees Sagittarius, and it is making a very beneficial trine to Mars, which is at 20 degrees Aries at the moment. So it's kind of like this mercurial fresh energy. It appeases Mars, this wounded warrior which was going back and forward during its retrograde, bleeding all the way up and down, you know. And finally there is some nice aspect to Mars, like, you know, not this hard square to Saturn and Pluto that used to be during the retrograde period, but it's a trine, it's a beneficial aspect. It is like aspect which alleviates the energy and makes it easier for us to breathe, like, you know. It's kind of, Mercury is always like this winged messenger of gods coming, like, you know. Our only enemy, I suppose, during this retrograde is Neptune, because Neptune would make a square to the total solar eclipse, because you might probably have heard that the new moon would also manifest the solar eclipse in Sagittarius, and it is squaring Neptune in Pisces. So Neptune in Pisces in square brings out the negative aspects of Neptune, something like deceit, living in illusion. But I suppose that this Mercury is actually our savior, because Mercury is all about clear thinking, clear communication, and Mars gets a spark of like life force of energy through the trines. So maybe that would be like the final step of the illusions being destroyed. Why do I think so? Is because you know that as an archetype, Sagittarius is related to the sign of philosopher. So it is the philosopher, the thinker, the nomad, you know, it's like spark of life. So it has for me like, you know, the vibe of, if you know, like of in as one of the movements in Islam, yeah, the dervishes and the Sufi. So those kind of wandering dervishes, something like that. So philosophers, thinkers, but thinking more like out of the box, thinking in a non-conventional, in a new way. So I suppose that the main topics for this new moon is exactly the change of paradigm, the change of belief system, because that's what Mercury is doing. Mercury is so close to the new moon, so it will be all about communication, speaking your truth, finding out the new truth, and sobering up in your head. So it kind of continues in a way, in a very harmonious way, the eclipse in Gemini, because the Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, and now it actively and fully participates in this new moon. So yeah, I believe that those systems of philosophy, of what we associate ourselves with, of what is our philosophical systems, paradigms, principles that we live by, those might be scattered. And it is time to change them because we need to adapt. But the fact that it is Sagittarius, it gives us this ability to adapt because, as I said, Mercury is trining Mars, and Mars is kind of liberated during this trine. So it is very much about getting new enthusiasm, getting curiosity, having those like fiery, new, inventive ways to adapt. Because as far as I'm not mistaken, Sagittarius is a mutable sign, so it's all about adaptability. And I suppose it's going to be a good time. Don't do it straight after the new moon, because I think that for a day the moon goes out of void, so it doesn't make any aspects. It's just alone there. It's not very much activated. But then on the second day and the third day of the new moon, that's a good, I think, way of writing the list. It's a good, not way, time to write the list of intentions. And I would say of the very bold intentions, really. I think that the motto of this new moon is fortune favors the brave, fortune favors the bold, you know, so be bold. I was reading yesterday a little bit, like, you know, a bit of the Rumi poetry, speaking of dervishes and Sufism, yeah, and that's kind of the paradox which Rumi discusses very often, that we are so much afraid of our bold desires. We think that what we want to achieve is totally impossible. But in fact, when you start thinking about it, and that's exactly what Sagittarius is about, the rethinking of the whole philosophical system in the world and where you fit in the system, we start actually thinking everything anew and think that the whole fact that life exists on Earth is totally improbable. The whole fact that our body has the ability to heal wounds, like, you know, you had a total terrible like blister or some, like, you know, scratch or wound, you were bleeding, but then it's just gone, like, you know, this regeneration of body, regeneration of life, the extreme abundance of species on Earth. When you think of it, absolutely everything like this is impossible. When we think of the facts of natural history, evolution is absolutely impossible. When you think of it, our common ancestor is the same two-cell body which originated gazillions of years ago somewhere in the ocean, and that's our common ancestor for us and for bees and for animals, you know, and for plants, I suppose, as well. I'm not a biologist. If you're a biologist, I'm sorry for my absolutely rubbish talk, but as far as I know, like roughly it's along those lines. Life on Earth originated from those two cells, and then it bursted into this variety. The more we think of it, the more I would say we rethink the facts that are so well known, so common for us, so that it's in the back of our brain. The more we start thinking of them, of the absolute trivia, banal facts, when we think of them with the focus, then we understand that that's absolutely mind-blowing. That's bonkers. Like, that's so that's nuts, like, you know, how did this happen? And this helps us to kind of refresh our attitude towards things, like, you know, like, I mean, whatever you think about, whatever you think, like, about the harmony of the universe and how it is all created, you know. So, and when we start thinking of it with the focus that Sagittarius is requiring us to do, this brings this refreshment of the paradigm, the renewal of our philosophy. We would probably give up old religions and old preachers and come up with something totally new. And I think that's what the Age of Aquarius is about. It's think for yourself, you know. In Zen Buddhism, there is this famous proverb, if you meet a Buddha, kill him. And it means that you don't listen to teachers. You are your teacher in yourself, you know. So you don't listen to what teachers are telling you, because that's their life, that's their experience. You might experience things completely differently and come up with a totally different answer to those questions. And you probably have noticed that I'm here like doing blah 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 for about like what 10-15 minutes, and the words that come up to me all the time, it is all those refreshment, renewal, change of paradigm, and so on and so on. So I believe it is a massive change. And as I said, I will repeat myself, I think this is like the overture, the musical overture to the main theme of the Great Conjunction and the Saturn moving from Capricorn. Now, they say that when Saturn moves from the sign, it gives a gift. Well, like, you know, I'm a Capricorn sun, so I suppose Saturn owes me a gift big time, and same as old Capricorns. That better be a great gift. Like, you know, I won't take less than something absolutely amazing coming into my life, provided I learned the lessons of Saturn, which I'm not sure if I did or not. I hope I did. I hope I did. But so it would be totally like, you know, the burning of the old world and the resurrection of something completely new. And when I was thinking of the symbols we can talk about this new moon, we'll start as always with the astrological sign itself, yeah. So what is Sagittarius? Well, Sagittarius, you know, is a Centaurus, yeah. So this Centaurus, this half horse, half human species in between, a kind of a creature in between species, which is actually very interesting to take as a metaphor, yeah. So it is like, again, something about feeling and thinking out of the box, because you do not belong to only one way of thinking. You can, like, you know, take bits and pieces from different species, basically. And the Centaurus we're talking about here is actually Chiron. Now, there is this asteroid Chiron, which we discuss a lot, but like, I think that it was discovered quite recently. And in ancient Greece, in ancient, like, you know, astrological systems, the Centaurus associated with Sag is actually the Chiron himself. And that's why Sagittarius is the sign of philosopher, because Chiron Centaurus, he was so beyond what the vibes and the instincts of the rest of the tribe of Centauruses, which were still half animals, so they were very instinctual, full of lust, full of aggression, and so on. He transcended all this. He was a healer, he was a wise man, a philosopher, he was a prophet, he was a seer. That's why it is the sign of prophets and seers as well. So it is probably a good time also to kind of train your intuition. And you know as well that he's an archer. That's why the sign for Sag, it's like a bow with an arrow. And that's an extremely interesting symbol when we think of it. Because on the one hand, what the archer do internally is that it's same like, I suppose, as playing musical instrument. You need this exact precision in order to shoot the arrow. So you need to this one moment of quietness to gain momentum, to gather your strength inside. You need to be so sure of every muscle in your body, how you would do the tension. You need to know yourself so very well. And I suppose that's what this new moon is, kind of gaining momentum, being fully present, being fully aware before the Great Conjunction. And then what is actually the whole like shooting of the arrow? On the one hand, it is hunting, so it is something like providing for yourself, for your family, which is extremely important because it takes into account the others. On the other hand, it is self-defense, but it is also a weapon, so it is about destroying your enemies. So it has lots and lots of those topics of at the same time thinking of yourself and the others, but at the same time knowing how to battle the demons inside of you, how to basically transcend the way that Chiron did, like, you know, to kill an animal within you and transcend to a new stage of existence. And another thing which comes to my mind are all this plethora of wrathful gods which are associated with shooting arrows. That Zeus, you know, Zeus has thunderbolt arrows which he throws. In Hinduism there is Rudra, so he's also kind of this god of destruction who is throwing fiery arrows. But at the same time, what came to my mind when I was wandering around my wild jungles of memories and associations, what I started thinking of is that if you know a little bit about Buddhism, you probably know that the most sacred symbols in Buddhism is Vajra and Kanta. And Vajra, it is this sort of like little staff which stands for a thunderbolt and a diamond, because I suppose Vajra stands for diamond and the thunderbolt in Sanskrit, that's the same word. And then Kanta, it's the bell. And if you Google Vajra and Kanta, you will find a ton of information and photos and so on. You can buy those things very often in all kinds of esoteric shops and so on. And why they became symbols is because they stand for method and enlightenment. Because in Buddhists, they believe that Bodhisattva, so the enlightened one, the awakened one, can reach the state of enlightenment by combining those two principles. So Vajra, the thunderbolt, it is about method, it's about action, it's about active compassion towards the all humankind and being present and being fully active. And bell, because bell, it's like a vessel, so it reminds us of shunyata, of this emptiness, which is the real nature of all things, which is the ultimate reality, and which basically, how to say, symbolizes this state of your eyes opening and being fully present and fully awakened. And this Vajra came to my mind in relation to Sagittarius because it is the thunderbolt, so it kind of stands for the symbol of an arrow as well. And when I started thinking of it, I suppose that's what it means, the method. So like not the contemplation, but the method, being active players in our life, like, you know, being active and fully aware and kind to yourself and super passionate about your spiritual growth and about what you want to manifest. So having this proactive position in life, I suppose. And Sag is a fire sign, and especially in this nation with its trine to Mars, which brings this renewed Mars, this enthusiasm, this inventive initiatives, like, you know, on how we continue moving on in this life and back and forward in 2020. So that's what it is about. And speaking of this movement, wanted to talk to you about one deck. So there is this deck, it's called Wildwood Tarot, very unconventional deck in a way, but the card that they have for Chariot, for Major Arcana number 7, is actually the Archer. That's just their take on the Chariot, because I suppose they just wanted to show that the Chariot primarily is about internal movement, not as much external movement. So it is like, you know, gaining your forces, accumulating everything you have, and then shooting it. And I think that's a very smart take on this, on the Chariot, because Chariot is Cancer, so it is a very peaceful card inside. So it is kind of having this state of meditation, of this total tranquility inside, and shooting, and that's how you reach your goal, and that's how you make impossible desires manifest and become possible. But speaking of tarot, like tarot obviously has a card for Sagittarius, and tarot has a card for Jupiter, which is the ruler of Sagittarius. And the card for Sagittarius is, I'm using here the Druid Craft Tarot. Druid Craft Tarot, that's how the deck is called. And the card for Sagittarius is Temperance. That's how it usually looks. Yeah, they're gonna be a woman and she has two vessels and she's pouring liquids from one vessel into another. Again, is you remember for Gemini, the card is Lovers. So not kind of something that would come to your mind straight away. For me, I have the same problem and conundrum with the Temperance card for Sag, because for me, Sag, it's a spark of life. It's something fiery, like, you know, it's this spark which... like, you know, when you have the bonfire, sparks are flying in the air and, like, you know, they can travel quite far away from the bonfire that originated them. And Temperance is totally different in its vibe. Temperance is about patience, about moderation, about not rushing, not doing impulsive things, but it is about thinking clearly and carefully and acting after a long process of consideration and taking into account different opinions and reaching out to many people, like, you know, and accommodating needs of different people. So Temperance, it is what it is. It is Temperance. It is all about moderation, patience, and so on. It's very far away from the fiery sign. But actually, when you start thinking of it in relation to the Archer, that's exactly what it is. You do a feast of, like, you know, transformations, shooting this arrow, reaching your goal, only by having this sense of moderation inside. Yeah, if you're all shaking and trembling, you're so emotional, you're angry, you're not seeing for what it is, like what's happening, you can't shoot the arrow and reach your goal. You need to cultivate this state of temperance inside, and that's when the alchemy becomes possible, because the Temperance card, it is ultimately about alchemy, and alchemy can be performed, this kind of transformation can be performed only when you have this calmness inside. Yeah, only when you think so clearly and you know so very well what you're doing, that's when it becomes possible. So it is a boring card when you first look at it, but at the same time, when you look at it for the second time, it becomes extremely powerful, because it's about the ultimate transformation. And alchemy is a transformation through fire. Yeah, alchemy, it's all about kind of somehow burning those metals and warming them up and so on. So the fire element is very present in Temperance as well, because it mediates this process of alchemical transformation. And the Jupiter card is, as you know, the Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, again, we're using the card from this deck from Druid Craft Tarot. The Wheel of Fortune, which speaks for itself, it's the Wheel of Fortune. Many tarot readers, as I can see in their readings, they interpret it as the luck coming your way, that it's a lucky card. I personally interpret it as the most ambiguous card in tarot, because the wheel is always turning. What it means is that your situation will change for 100%. It is likely to change for the better, because it's Jupiter, but at the same time, wheel is turning. It's changing for the better today, it might change for the worse tomorrow. The worst that is happening to you, it is again divine intervention, which ultimately will probably bring you the higher good, but there might be uneasy steps on this road, you know. So it is karma and it is dharma in the same way, dharma, yeah. So like this, and it is samsara as well, because samsara, it actually means the wheel, yeah. So the wheel of reincarnations, the wheel of deaths and rebirths, so kind of a trap in a way as well. It is probably one of my favorite cards, because it is so useful to understand that if you're at the bottom, you will inevitably be at the top at some point. But if you're in the top, it's good to have awareness that at some point you will end up at the bottom, or not necessarily at the bottom, on the kind of lower points, because the wheel keeps rotating. And we can remember here of the ring of King Solomon, who had this ring that these two shall pass, you know. Everything passes, good is passing, and bad is passing. So it's an extremely helpful and hopeful idea, like to have at the back of your brain, I suppose. And that's what Wheel of Fortune is about for me. But yes, ultimately it is about the karmic reward. So you are collecting you're reaping the fruit of the seeds that you have sown. Yeah, so it is about the maturation of the situation as well. It's kind of before it sprouts into something new. So yeah, so to sum it up, I think it's going to be a beautiful nation. I'm personally going to write a big list of very bold desires for 2021, of absolutely impossible things, of people I want to meet, and of things I want to achieve, like, you know, and of things related to topics of Sagittarius, which would be like all those topics of prophecies and philosophy and the system of belief and paradigms by which we swear, and at the same time something fiery, something about creative projects and having passionate life and stepping lightly, you know, and being ignited on every step of your life with curiosity and with the feeling of adventure, I suppose, because life is a big adventure, yeah. So we will have, as always, now the look at the cards, and yeah, as always, let me know in the comment what you feel, how you're anticipating the Great Conjunction and so on. Oh, just the last remark about the Great Conjunction, yeah. So happening on the 21st, and I don't know, what always comes to my mind is that if you like the Twin Peaks, let me know in the comments if someone loves Twin Peaks as much as I do. I'm absolutely scared of this show, but I'm still watching it nonetheless. So if you watch, you probably remember that when Agent Cooper was trying to get into the Dark Lodge, you know, where all those like diabolic creatures are residing, they were waiting to the Great Conjunction, because that's what was in the ancient Native American prophecy, that the doors to this White Lodge and to the Black Lodge, they would open when Saturn is conjunct with Jupiter. So they were waiting for this Great Conjunction for Agent Cooper to go into the lodge. It ended up quite badly, if you remember the end of the second season. But David Lynch, yeah, the director, you know probably that he's an extremely spiritual man. He's practicing all these transcendental meditations. He's like, you know, his conscious is already like on the level of some gurus, I suppose. So he's extremely aware, and he obviously knew what it means. He obviously knew that it's a tremendous importance of this event, and I think that's his artistic license, his artistic take on it, that during the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, the doors to the other world essentially are opening, and we get kind of like on a very different level of existence. We can communicate with the entities from the other world. We can step out of this world and make a journey into the other world. If you are planning to do some ritual, traveling to the other world, like shamanic ritual, just a small note that please be extremely cautious in case you want to do it. Please ground yourself before. If you watch Twin Peaks, you know that Agent Cooper ended quite badly after this travel, because as one of his friends, the detective who was a Native American, told him, you can't make a journey to the other world unless you're absolutely pure in heart. And that's almost an impossible requirement for all of us, pretty much so, because we all have our fears still, and yeah, unless we are already in the state of bodhisattvas, but I think there is a handful of people who are there yet. Most of us are not. But I like this metaphor, and I like to think of Twin Peaks in relation to this Great Conjunction as a sort of like culmination of so many things, and it's going to be super exciting. Excellent. So yeah, let's do the reading and see what's in store for all of us sign by sign, and yeah, see you at the reading then. I somehow feel that for this reading we'll get a ton of like new beginnings, maybe lots of threes, maybe lots of twos. Anyway, we'll see. We start as always with the first sign, so it's Sagittarius, and you're hosting the event, and for you it's happening in your first house, yeah. So yeah, so let's have a look. Oh, I just shuffled. I'm going to show you at the bottom of the card Ace of Pentacles, yeah, new beginnings, new manifestations. So okay, that would be our general energy. Let's put it this way, the earth energy. So yeah, knew it. Yeah, okay. Sagittarius, you got 3 of Wands, 5 of Pentacles, and 7 of Cups. There's gonna be some tough work needs to be done. Like, I mean, you're in the spotlight. You would be the one who would be doing lots of job on behalf of all of us, because your sign is hosting it, especially Sagittarius rising. Like, you know, especially if you're, let's say, your rising or your sun or your moon is around 20-23 degrees, you might be quite affected by it. Your first energy is, yeah, nothing new, new beginnings, and it's the suit of wands, the suit of fire, so it is your suit. New beginnings. I absolutely love this card. It is like the card when, I don't know, when you just started, I don't know, a new relationship, when you just met a guy or girl and you were wondering if this would work out or not, and then you get this card. So it is something like, you know, really innocent in a good way, but also with a promise hidden in it of great passion and great creativity and great fiery element. You just see it that only like first leaves appear on those bows, but again, like, you know, the man is looking with a hope at the horizon, and that's the feeling I want you to cultivate within, to stay hopeful and look kind of into the future, look like, you know, beyond, like having a broader picture, a larger gaze. Because the rest of your cards actually speak about the same. 5 of Pentacles, it's a card of a challenge. Yeah, it's a card of a challenge related to all things earthy, so like material, financial things. And it actually, it implies a sense of danger as well, because here is like, you know, a hound and she's chasing the rabbit. So it is like, it can give away to the feeling that you are kind of victim to the circumstances. But essentially, as all negative, not negative, maybe like more challenging tarot cards, it implies a great hope, especially on this, on this in this deck, because it is pretty much, the vibe from this card is similar to 8 of Swords. Yeah, so there is a dawn and there is like new beginning again. Like there is, the symbol here is dawn, so it's sun, it's fire, it's like new fiery beginning, the dawning of the new day. But like the woman has closed her eyes, she doesn't see clearly, so it is about like restoring the clear vision. And with the solar eclipse, right, in Sag as well, and with, as I said, Neptune is squaring it, so it might be that some illusions, deceptions from Neptune would be in place. But, and the sun is eclipsed, so the ego is eclipsed, so you can't see clearly. But this will go through, like, if you accept this broader perspective. And the 7 of Cups, yeah, so it is in a way the card of illusions as well, because it is about looking at some, like, you know, illusory cups, which are only reflections of God knows which cups. They are not material, they are like, you know, they're just figments of your imagination, figments of your mind, of your fantasies, like, you know, while there is a very solid cup next to you. So it is again a very cautious card about like not really looking at all those like illusionary opportunities, but to focus on something which is real and tangible. I suppose like for you it's really big, it's probably even bigger for you because the sun kind of probably overweights a bit the moon for you, so maybe the solar eclipse in square to Neptune actually triggered those 2 cards for you, both cards of kind of like blindness, deception, not seeing the situation for what it is. Yeah, this guy is looking at some illusionary cups, this woman has closed her eyes, she doesn't see the sun dawning. But as for many of us, I suppose, the new moon, especially in your sign, it is like a new beginning. So I would deeply encourage you to write what I was talking about at the start, to write the list of what you would like to manifest, and really, I don't know, think big for 2021, and for great conjunction in Aquarius, and for the age of Aquarius, and so on. But please be aware and have your eyes peeled for the possible, like, you know, illusionary thoughts coming your way, so that, I don't know, something like along the lines of self-deception and all those things, like, you know. Next Capricorn, Capricorn. Well, we have 2 more weeks to hang on, guys. We can do it till Saturn moves out. We will still have Pluto for, I don't know. Pluto, I think, stays in the sign for 30 years, isn't it? Am I correct? Ooh. Oh, good cards, yeah. Okay, Capricorns, we got lots of good cards. I'm sorry. How could I not be happy when I'm speaking about myself? And I've been through lots of shit over the past 3 years. And it's still not over yet. But look, like, you know, we deserve a bit of things. Okay, Capricorns. 3 of Cups, 2 of Pentacles, and Ace of Wands. So Ace, 2 and 3. It's all new beginnings. It's all brand new. In general, like, you know, in tarot, like, Ace is the conception moment, 2 is the planning moment, and 3 is seeing the first results. So it is like making first steps when you're a baby, and we got all those 3 cards. The first one is 3 of Cups. It's a card of reunion. It's a card of, like, you know, emotional sincerity, good times with your friend, small festivities, very timely for the holiday season. But for us it's even more special because our birthday is around those dates, around Christmas, around New Year's, and happy birthday, like, you know, happy birthday Sagittarius as well. Sorry, I forgot to say, of course, and Capricorns who are born in December as well. So it is something about small pleasures, but small pleasures are possible when nothing is bothering your mind, like, you know, when you can just breathe out and stop being like on hold and all, like, you know, squeezed inside all the time. No, it's just about letting go, enjoying your time, enjoying some good, like, you know, party, New Year party, Christmas with your family, and then your birthday, and just partaking of the simple pleasures of life. And then we have 2 of Pentacles, very Capricornian card, yeah, because it's a card of kind of what they call, like, time planning, and I forgot the word, sorry. Yeah, time planner, I suppose. That's what it is. It is, again, earthly energy, Pentacles, some new beginnings in God, the words are escaping me today, in some sort of like material, tangible things. But it is primarily about, I was talking in the introduction that this new moon in Sagittarius, it's all about changing your paradigm, your belief system. So it is something like coming with a new routine. I mean, like, Capricorns are essentially good with timing and time planning. But again, like, you know, sometimes Capricorns can take too much on them and carry everything on their shoulders. So it is about juggling too many things at the time, like, you know, like, how can I handle all this? So that's how, like, you know, it is just a reminder to prioritize things differently, to time things differently, like, you know, to really come up with probably, yeah, with the list of prioritizing what is important, what is secondary. Not everything is equally important. You don't need to juggle all those things at the same time. It's not jungle, it's juggle, right? I don't know. Juggling, yeah. I don't remember this word. Jungle is the forest. I don't know. I suppose it's from French, like jongle. I don't know. Anyway, so there is no need to take too much to you. Your task is to make a list of priorities and focus on your priorities. And what is secondary, secondary. You don't need to do it. You can't have it all. Otherwise, you will burn out. So think of it, and yeah, as a counterbalance, just enjoy simple time with friends. And then, of course, the Ace of Wands, like, yeah, the new beginnings with passions, with fires, with, like, you know, how you see yourself, what you want to achieve, new drive, new enthusiasm. As I said, the Mercury, which is almost conjunct with the new moon, and the solar eclipse actually makes a trine to Mars, so we're all probably going to feel energized. But for us, like, I mean, for Capricorns, it's special because Saturn is moving from our house, this great restraint, like, I mean, okay, it will be in our 2nd house, not really funny at all, but not in the 1st house when all your life is actually, like, you know, falling apart. So it is a brand new start, and as I said, Saturn is believed in astrology to give us the gift when he moves out of the house. So let's all expect a gift. Better be a great gift for all the 3 years of disaster and suffering and God knows what else. Next one is Aquarius. For you, the lunation is happening in your 11th house of friends and networks. Actually, 11th house is the Aquarian house, yeah, for Kazakh collective. I suppose because there is so much fire energy going on with Mars and Sagittarius and Aries activated. The problem also might be some conflicts, and you're going to be very busy, Aquarius. Very busy. And I guess like fire and air are so like diametrically opposite. If you have transits in fire, I suppose it would be easier to accommodate, but in general you didn't like the cards that you got are quite challenging. But also with an Aquarian vibe. Okay, so you got 7 of Swords, you got also 5 of Swords, and you got 8 of Wands. And it is all about friends and networks and so on. 7 of Swords, it is this card of deception, deceit, like, you know, betrayal, someone doing something behind your back and so on. So this might quite well manifest itself under the like quite negative Neptunian influence. And Neptune is in your 2nd house and Pisces. But in general, the more positive meaning of 7 of Swords, which I want to focus kind of right now to bring some good messages as well, along with cautions, is that 7 of Swords is essentially like, you know, thinking out of the box. It is, I think, very Aquarian when we think of it. So like, because 7, it's kind of like looking for new ways, and Swords is huge of air, of intellect, of like mental activities. So it is about some change in attitudes and how you see the world and how you think of the world. So again, I'm recommending everyone to write a list of very bold new moon intentions and wishes for 2021. So go ahead, do it, like, you know, do it. See what are the things which you could look at differently with a fresh view, like, you know. And so here is like the old scribe, yeah. So what he is possibly doing is that scribes are essentially copying the manuscripts of the past. But when they copy, they also comment, yeah. I'm telling you as a medieval historian, they comment, they gloss things that are not clear for them. They write their commentaries on the margins of the manuscripts. So it is something like metaphorically what you should do, like, you know, look at the old and accompany it with the new gloss. So it is something about changing the way you think. Like, if there is some aim you want to achieve and you don't know how to do it, you should just do it in a brand new way, because the old ways are not working. 5 of Swords, like, you know, some conflicts might rise as well. I don't know if that's Mars influencing you. I hope that's not for everyone. But in case something arises, just, yeah, just stand your ground, like, you know, and you would be victorious, because it's a card of a challenge. All 5 are challenging in tarot, but that's kind of a card of a victory as well, because here is your adversary. He is basically beaten up and you're in full triumph. But it's a kind of bittersweet victory, you know, because you are tired and you probably lost yourself lots of things and you were wounded and so on. So there might be some conflicts in which you would be victorious, like, you know. But just remember, again, swords, clear mind, really sobering up in your head, knowing very well what you do, not rushing, not acting impulsively. And then 8 of Wands, that's kind of like a more positive Sagittarian influence, because Wands is a suit of fire, creativity, passion, all those things, like, you know. And 8, it's actually the side of action. There are always 8 wands kind of like being casted in the air. So it is about, that's actually very similar to what archery is doing, yeah. So it is something like being proactive in reaching your goal, but by doing so, don't mess up with other people. So in case it is some individual endeavor, go for it. When it requires other people, when it involves other people, it would require more, like, you know, accurate behavior and also kind of thinking out of the box. But the last card is a really good card. It's a card of big responsibility. It's kind of not in this kind of all rosy posy card, like, you know, which is just being happy and sitting and all counting your millions in your attic, you know. No, but it is about like acting, being really focused and focused on your goal, and having like this energy and enthusiasm inside of you to act properly. Then you'll succeed, and you'll succeed for sure. Next one is Pisces. Pisces, you are having this in your 10th house of career, right? I think so. Yeah. And you are hosting this Neptune, this planet. Absolutely love Neptune. I mean, like, absolutely love Neptune, because it's artistic, it's dreaming, it's beautiful. It's all about dreams, other world, amazing. But yeah, the Neptune is making this square to the eclipsed sun, and it might bring like the negative parts of Neptune, yeah, kind of deception, illusions, not seeing clearly. Suppose we're all in lockdown for so long that we no longer see clearly what's possible, what's not possible in our lives. We don't know if we can dream, if what we dream is too much, if what we dream is not enough. So just please be careful with Neptunian energies, and you're very prone to them because that's your bottom. Oh, okay, Pisces, for you it's gonna be like a hell lot of an eclipse and the new moon in your 10th house. Okay, so you got Death, you got 9 of Cups and the Hanged Man. Very spiritual, but also very pivotal. Yeah, you got lots of, we didn't have any major arcana so far, I'd say, in whatever we looked at. You are the first one. You got 2 out of 3. That's a lot. So yeah, pretty much like all of us, massive endings, massive closures, probably, like, you know, again, the way you see yourself, whether it's related to the career or in general how you express yourself, like 10th house, okay, whatever, like it's a big house, like, you know, it's a big house. It's not only about career, I'd say. It's just about like how we control our life. It's a house of Capricorn, yeah, so it's how we control our life, how we show ourselves to the world, what we rule in our lives, like, you know, all those things, like, you know. And for you it's going to be a massive change of paradigm, because I think that the vibe of Sagittarius, that it's a prophet, it's a seer, it's a philosopher, it's a thinker, deep down it's kind of like resonates with Pisces. Yeah, Pisces as prophets, Pisces as seers. So so it will hit you hard in a way if you're not prepared. If you're prepared, you're grand, you know what I'm talking about. So that things would end, like, you know, and it depends what it is, which things. Like for me, like my moon is in Pisces, so it's probably more emotional, internal closures. If you have sun in Pisces, it's probably more external closures. You might change your job, or change, like, you know, the way you do your job, or how you behave at your job, something like this. But people are afraid of death, but I think death is one of the best cards in the whole tarot, because it is about this gentle surrender, gentle acceptance of the cycles of life, knowing that nothing is in perpetuity under the moon, and knowing that the closure will bring the fresh new start. It is a closure, but it is a closure that you probably anticipate and that you desire, because 9 of Cups is fulfillment of wishes. I don't have much else to say. It is a fulfillment of wishes card. So to be honest, like, if that's the case for us Pisces, maybe we should really dream bold after this new moon, but really like double check, like, you know, with Neptune. I mean, like, if it's possible or not, if it's like illusions, shadows, demons are playing with you, like, you know. But in general, that's the fulfillment of wishes. So maybe your dream will come true, like, you know, under this full moon. New moon absolutely wished for all of you. And then the Hanged Man. So the situation will be turned 180 degrees. There might be some delays. There might be like some really like a bit of a Neptunian vibe. So uncertainties, not feeling the earth under your feet, feeling like your head is in the clouds, yeah. Also, The bad manifestation of hanged man is like feeling like a victimization. I hope that's not the case. I hope that's more about like, you know, seeing the truth for what it is. And I was talking a lot about it at the beginning of the talk, about the refreshing the way we look at things, looking at the ordinary things in the new way. That's what hanged man is about. Like, you know, when you look at the ordinary things in a totally new way, you see, like, you know, totally new things. You start thinking about things totally different, and you act differently as a result, and you manifest different things, like, you know. So it is, in a way, closures always bring mess, but this card is also the card of self-sacrifice and surrender. So it is surrendering to the divine intervention, surrendering to the mess which is created after something is closing, after something is lacking, but you got the fulfillment of wishes. That's ultimately what you want, to be honest. That's ultimately for your higher self. You just need to surrender to it. Just need to surrender to it. I need to say, this is the deck which my dear friend Andrea, if you're watching, that's a kiss for you. That's my friend Andrea gave to me, and I absolutely love this deck. This deck is amazing to work with. I don't really resonate with all this druidy stuff, because maybe like I have a degree in ancient Irish history and language and so on. So like, sadly, we don't know anything about the druids, in case you were wondering. There are no written evidences. Whatever we have is written by clerics, by Irish monks who had written down national mythology, national legends, and we're extremely grateful to them. But of course, they were Irish, but they were also clerics. So the way they portrayed druids, it might have lots of influence from the antique literature, from classical sources, from the way magicians are portrayed in classical literature, from the way magicians are portrayed in the Bible. So sadly, we don't know much about the druids, so it is a fascinating topic, but there is much we know, not much we know about it. Next is Aries. Aries, for you, it is your 9th house. 9th house of high learning, of esoteric quest. Oh, for you, it's going to be a beautiful big one. And in case you didn't listen to the introduction, you have Mars, 20 degrees. Aries, which is trining this lunation at 23 degrees, and so the sun, the moon, and also there is a Mercury in exact trine to your Mars. So Mercury air brings you this new vibe. Oh, okay. Okay. Brings this new vibe of kind of liberation. That's the first card, which is about it. Okay, it's 15. They call it Cernunnos because like they didn't want to make a devil card, yeah, but in general it's devil card. It's a Capricorn devil card. It's all about, it's Saturn, it's Capricorn, it's Saturnian delays, Saturnian restrictions, feeling obstacles, you know. But it is ultimately about liberation, about feeling yourself so trapped that, you know, kind of that you have reached the ultimate bottom, like, you know. And I suppose you did know well after you were hosting the retrograde. I suppose Aries are also like wounded here and there, you know. But let's respect what's in this deck. Like, you know, if it's not devil, then it's not devil. It's Cernunnos. Cernunnos is the Gaulish, so like from the Celtic people, Gauls, who were living in the territory of modern France, yeah, like, you know, sometimes French people still are using the kind of like this adjective Gaulois, so like the Gaulish to describe like French, like, you know, like le coq Gaulois, so like the rooster, the French rooster, kind of the symbol of whatever it is, revolution or whatever. So he was a Gaulish god. He had those he had those antlers over stag, you know, and he was believed, well, we know nothing what he was believed to be, like, you know, truly. We just know that his depictions are found on like this old Goldestrop cauldron, of which is like a very, very famous masterpiece of Celts, you know. And he was this kind of like god of nature, the horned god of nature, the god of at least was, that's what the authors of this deck believe in, that he was kind of god of the forest. He's half human, half stag, so he rules the animals, he rules the force of nature, he rules the cycles of nature. And here he's approaching this couple, which is actually taken from Gemini card, from the lovers, you know. So this card is very much about tapping into your instincts, you know, that's what they mean, into your animal instincts, into your dark side, into your inner devils, you know, that's why we have our devil connection, and liberating it through the acceptance and surrendering that there is an animal element in all of them and in all of us, and there is darkness in everything. There is sun in the forest and there is darkness in the forest, like, you know. So you take it holistically. You don't want to completely purge yourself from this dark side, but you want to be liberated through accepting it and making peace with it. Same as like in the forest, everything is intertwined, and in the figure of Cernunnos, animal is intertwined with a human, like, you know. So it is making a harmonious marriage union, hence the lovers, of two dualistic opposite forces of nature within yourself, like, you know. And that's how you can move forward. And forward move you will, because your next card is Seven of Pentacles. That's a beautiful card, because what it alludes to is to this druidic ritual, which, I don't know, like, how did it appear, from where we know it, but there is like this conception that they were in around, like, actually around like the solstice, the winter solstice. You see, it's like here, the wintry landscape. The druids were going, like, you know, to cut mistletoe, to cut the branches of mistletoe with this, I forgot how this thing is called in English. See? No, I don't remember. So, because they were considering mistletoe sacred. Why is mistletoe sacred? Is that because it's not plant, it's not animal, it doesn't have its own roots, yet it exists, like, you know. So it's just hanging, not here, not there, like, you know, God knows what it is. So it is kind of this liminal creation. Liminal creation, it means that it's related to the other world, to the places not here, not there, that it kind of has this supernatural quality, you know. That's why mistletoe was considered sacred and kind of the sacred plant. So they were cutting it. And so this one, it's about like collecting the fruit of your effort, like waiting to the right moment till to act, like, you know. You can't collect mistletoe in July, even if you want very much, because there is no mistletoe then. It appears in winter, and that's why it's related to Christmas, yeah, on the islands, on British Isles. And but essentially, Seven of Pentacles is about reaching certain stability, feeling much more grounded, much more stable than you used to feel, like, you know, some time ago. And then you have strength, the card of Leo, like, you know, your fellow fire sign. So you kind of got it all. You have Mars, the lunation we're talking about is in Sag, and you have Leo here, the strength. You will require lots of strength to kind of like tap to this dark energy, connect with it, make peace with it, like, you know, just surrender that. Like, it's not that the darkness is bad and light is good, like, there are both, there are like, there is place for devil and angel inside of us. And this would make you feel much more grounded, so that you can finally start seeing the fruit of your hard work. And strength is just a big blessing for you here, like, you know, again, like, you will feel energized, you will feel probably more enthusiastic, more curious. Your Mars is cleansed and liberated by Mercury, so it is quite a nice combination, you know, that like fire needs oxygen to burn beautifully, like, you know. And Mercury is this oxygen, yeah, because it's air sign, air planet. Next one is Taurus. So for you, it's the 8th house of money and transformation, yeah. Taurus is having Uranus. I don't think Uranus participates in this new moon in any way, but I need to say, I think that the eclipse in Gemini was extremely Uranian in nature. Yeah, because it's just like a light bulb to me. Mm. Tauruses, you got a ton of very spiritual cards, probably because it's happening in the 8th house for you, 8th house of transformation, of the occult, of hidden things. It is our collective Scorpio house. Yes, Scorpio is ruling the 8th house, so all things Scorpionic. And I suppose because for you this fiery lunation with the eclipse, yes, so it's really intensified with the Mercury is happening in your 8th house. And actually, you know what? Venus is now in Scorpio. Venus, the ruler of Taurus, your ruler, is in the last degrees of Scorpio. And the lunation is happening in the 8th house, ruled by Scorpio. For you, it's going to be a deeply spiritual time. I wouldn't do anything, like any impulsive things, nothing to rush, but maybe it is time actually for you to take a break, to just sit down, do some ritual. You got the High Priestess, you got the Moon, and then you got the Hermit, the Virgo, and then you got the Nine of Wands. So many, you notice so many signs are getting one card from the suit of Wands, because like we are on fire. So the High Priestess Taurus says, High Priestess is the card, like, you know, if you're a little bit in esoteric things, and I suppose you are if you're watching this video, the High Priestess is about all things High Priestess, yes, so reconnecting to your divine feminine, doing rituals, probably like, you know, reading something occult, thinking about like the depths of the psychic, of subconscious and so on. But another thing is that that's the card of portal. And if you remember the iconography of the card for the moon, they're actually mirroring each other, because where the High Priestess is sitting, there are always two towers or two pillars, or here like two rocks. And in the moon cards, there are also two rocks which show the passage of the soul, and there are like wolf and dog like howling, and there is a small crab on the first, in the kind of forefront of the picture. So here it's like so very much like moonly card. So it is about the portal. And I suppose we are all at the gate. It's just that maybe you would feel it stronger than the others because it's happening in the 8th house for you. So you would just get this deep insight into what's going on. But it's important to kind of realize that we're all at the gate. We're all at the gate, at the threshold. Those would be our keywords. And you need to honor this moment, to honor the moment something is closing and something new is becoming for you, beginning for you. And in order to honor it, the Hermit card, the Virgo card, yeah, so the card of withdrawal of senses, you know, like in Hinduism, like in yoga, all this like pratyahara, yeah, the withdrawal of senses. So meditating, going deep down, thinking. Basically, I think for you it's really going to be a good time to do, I don't know, some ritual, or listen to, I don't know, some Reiki class, or actually, yeah, maybe even do during the lunation some sort of like service, or during a tarot reading, or during an astrology reading, or like, you know, it's time to explore all these notions of the 8th Scorpionic house, of the occult, you know. So you Tauruses, you're so like well grounded, you have lots of wisdom, so maybe that's what it is about gathering your wisdom, remembering that there is a guiding star, that there is a moon, that even in the dark night of the soul there is, like, you know, light, and this light is within you. And look at those cards together, how they're beautiful, because there is the male and female, yeah, there is blue and green, so kind of all those like colors of the depth, because those would be the colors of the waves of the sea. But also here is the new moon, yeah, in this shape, and here is the old moon. So those two cards, they are like the cycles of the moon in their entirety, and the cyclical nature of life, and yeah, accepting this and surrendering to this, and making the most of it, like, you know, really digging deep, I suppose. And Nine of Wands, it's actually also, it's in a way kind of a break, because that's the card I'm getting very often, because I'm a Capricorn. That's a card for all the and earth signs who work too much, like, you know, because that's all the ones that you got in infinite battles, you know. It's a card of being tired. It's a card of like, okay, like, you know, I walk too much, I already have those wants. Wants is what? Like fire, passion, creativity, creative project. So like, you know, something tangible, something that worked and brought results. But you are tired after this. You're tired and wounded. This man, like, you know, there is always an injury on this card. Usually the head of the guy has a kind of dressing. In this one, he has a broken hand, you know. He has here, like, you know, whatever it's called. I don't know. He has like dressing also. Bandage, yeah, I suppose, yeah. And so it is a card of taking a break. You already have lots. You have, like, you worked a lot. Tauruses always do. You have so many things achieved. You have some things that need healing. So you just need to stop. And while you're stopping, gaze deep inside. And it's a new dawn rising. Oh. Next one is the Gemini, of course, because the thing, of course, the eclipse and the new moon are activating the Gemini Sagittarius axis, you know, of course. So yeah, for you it's happening in your 7th house of partnership, in the opposite house. And let's see, Gemini, what's in store for you. You also got wands, you got swords, and you got cups. I feel like you need to take some active step, but not rushed, but really thoroughly thought through, probably in your relationship with other people, or in some conflictual situation, which will ultimately bring peace, because like your cards, they actually came as a sort of like story. We start with 5 of Wands. Yeah, 5 is all 5s in tarot, challenging cards, like, you know. So there might be some misunderstanding, some rivalry, some competition. It's the house of partnership with your friends and colleagues, like, you know. Maybe some competition at your work, maybe some misunderstanding with your friend, like, you know. Whatever it is, that's the card of standing your ground, like, you know. If you know that your reason is, your cause is reasonable and noble, fight for it. If you know that probably you were not right yourself, it's wise to accept it and just, like, you know, just withdraw from the conflict. But like, this card is an active conflict, and kind of active, not necessarily conflict as something bad, but a debate, like, you know, debate, conversations, like, you know, comparing the opinions, you know, weighing the opinions. And then your next card of Prince of Swords, and it's you, because Prince of Swords is Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. That's a person of the air sign, and the person is in rush, like, you know. Prince of Swords, Knight of Swords in classical decks, it's the most active knight. He is like the one who is not like Knight of Pentacles, who is like slow and steady. No, he's rushing into the battle. He's a hot head, like, you know, he's rushing. He, like, the wind is whistling in his ears, you know. And but if we take that abstractly, in fact, the meaning of it is not rushing anywhere. It's to act decisively, quickly, but very clearly. Because, yeah, Swords, suit of air, suit of intellect, mind, and so on. And Knight is high up in the hierarchy of the cards. So it is really, you need to think a lot about what you're going to do before you actually do it. But when you do it quickly. You do it like you remove a plaster, like very quickly. But it can't be an impulsive decision. It's not fire. So it is with acting from the place of mental clarity. But at the same time, it's not earth. So it's actually acting. And if you do this you get a very peaceful card. 10 of Cups, yeah, so kind of harmony, love, bliss, harmony in relationships and emotional sphere. So you see how those cards are coming together. So we got your conflict, your kind of rivalry or competition, and then we get some action. Or actually this might mean some information coming to you. Someone would give you a missing piece of information that would make you at peace or change your opinion or something, but it will all end well, like, you know, it will all end well with the 10 of Cups. At least, like, 10 of Cups is a card of the collective, like, you know, about a few generations coming together. So it might be something, yeah, something with your seniors at work or something within your family or with friends. But at the end, like, it ends with reaching out the more understanding place, like, you know. Next one is Cancer. Cancer, we will celebrate you at the end of December, because the full moon in Cancer is actually pretty much on New Year's Eve on the 30th. So we will celebrate this wonderful, wonderful day together. Yeah, when we enter in the Capricorn season. But now this thing for you is happening in your 6th house. The new moon in Sag and the solar eclipse is happening in your 6th house of health and routine. Aha. Of health and routine. There is a very good trine from the Mercury to Mars in Aries. Mars is inflammation. So I really wish for whatever Cancer you have troubles with your health, that it will be fixed with Mercury. And Mercury is a healer as well, because Mercury's sign, it's actually the caduceus, you know, and caduceus are those two snakes intertwined like DNA, like DNA. And snakes are healers, yeah, also on the sign of medical staff, you know. It's not the caduceus, but it is usually one staff with one snake. That's the whole difference. Sometimes people don't distinguish between them. But actually the first card you got, it's you came kind of into your own reading in a way. It's Prince of Cups, so it is Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces. So it can be a person of the water sign, it can be you, but it's usually a good sign when we get those cards in our own reading. Same as, for example, when Virgos are getting like Queen of Pentacles. You see what I'm talking about? It means that you are actually, you are you, like, you know, you are in alignment with yourself, you are in alignment with your values. And this card is so extremely spiritual, to be honest, when you think of it. The house in which it's happening for you is not really spiritual, but in general, as I said, like, Sag is a sign of philosopher and thinker and prophet and seer. So it would resonate with water signs at a lot, I suppose. That's what I feel. Like, and look at this knight, he has bare feet, like, you know, because like he needs to connect to nature, he needs to connect to the pool, like, you know, he needs to dip his toes into the water and connect with his emotions. So there might be like deep, actually emotional reconnection with yourself during this moon, like, you know. And then you got the Queen of Wands, and Queen of Wands, she would be Leo, Sag, or Aries. So it might be about two people. If, for example, I don't know, if your partner is of water sign or air, if like your partner, that would be you, and that would be your partner of fire sign. I suppose there is like a promise of some new beginnings and new kind of way of aligning towards each other. But in case it's not your partner at all, that's just like, I suppose you would be so energized, like it would be such an energizing place for you, this new moon, because all queens, they're actually fire signs with the secondary transits in water. Yeah, so because feminine is related to water, so it is like, it can be you. So like, you know, that this fire energized, this water energized by water, like, you know, that you start bubbling, you know, like on the hope, and that you can get some absolutely lovely insights around the time of the new moon, that, I don't know, creative insights, intuitive insights, some conundrums that you didn't know how to solve, they would be resolved for you, and this would bring the Two of Wands. Two of Wands, that's simple, that's just new beginnings, new projects. And again, it is about the portal, it's about the gate. Taurus also got the symbolism of portal, like, you know, because it's your house of routine and health. Maybe it's the way, it's maybe the time for you to rethink actually your routine, to rethink your health, to start taking care of it more profoundly, in order to kind of come into the full fruition as yourself, like, you know, to feel like the Queen of Wands, like this very self-confident, passionate, energized, creative, curious, inventive, like, you know, very pleasant, like Queen of Wands are very pleasant personalities in tarot. And maybe the new start, like, you know, I mean, new moons, the new start anyway, but the Two of Wands is a beautiful new start, because it is going through the gate here. It's like the portal made of those trees, like, you know, and again, there is like this drawing of a human, like, you know, going through the gates without a fear, knowing that you are not alone, that you're protected, that there is probably a guide that will meet you when you do the step through the open door, you know, and you would know that you're not alone, basically. Next one is Leo, and for you it's in the 5th house, yeah, 5th house of creative expression, of romantic partnerships, of children. I hope I'm counting correctly. I'm not good at math, obviously, so to be honest, I don't know, but I hope that's the 5th house. Oh, how beautiful, Leos. You also got 2 major arcana. Who else got 2 major arcana? Pisces did. Pisces did, yeah. You also got a death card like Pisces. Go listen to Pisces as well. I don't know, like, what's the relationship between Leo and Pisces? You're kind of riding very similar waves of energies here. So, Leos, you got 7 of Wands. Then you got death. Then you got a star. So look, guys, I don't know what happened to you during the eclipse. Many things happened to many people during that eclipse in Gemini, but probably how it all started and how it is still evolving is the 7 of Wands. So there was some conflict, there was some misunderstanding, and you feel like you need to protect yourself. So you are at the top of this tower, and other people with their swords, they're coming, they want to kill you, you know, and you need to protect yourself. You need to protect your opinion, you need to protect your point of view, you need to protect your, I don't know, honor, you need to protect your decency from whatever. So you have been attacked, usually wrongly attacked, or not even, maybe not necessarily attacked, you know, but I hope you see what I mean. So you feel like you need to protect yourself, you need to stand your ground, you need to protect your values, your actions, what you did, what you're gonna do. So it is in a way a defensive state. That's how it all starts for you. But then your second heart is death. So it's going to be a massive closure, and you'll be grateful for it. So it is, yeah, go listen to Pisces. So I said everything I knew about death in Pisces. Okay, I'll repeat myself for a couple of seconds, but like, you know, death, I mean, like, you should not be afraid of death, because death is the part of the natural cycle, like, you know. And we need to accept death to be reborn. That's how we keep moving. Human life is linear. We can't get The paradise has no time. The paradise is eternity. There is no linear movement. But in this life, in this reincarnation, there is. So they're going to be death and rebirth, death and rebirth. I talk a lot about this card when I was doing the new moon in Scorpio. Go check that my video, listen to the introduction if you're more interested in depth about this card. But in general, it is about the closures, and it is good, because if we don't close, we are in stagnation. Like, yeah, if we have a bullet, if we don't remove it, it starts rotting, you know. That's the removal. That's the removal of the situation out of your life in order to have place for something else. But then, Leos, I have an amazing news for you. Your last card is the Star. You needed to defend yourself, and then there was a massive closure of something, probably as a result of this defense, and you don't feel secure, and you feel totally at mess, which happens when the death comes to our lives. But then there is a Star. There is your soulmate energy, there is spiritual energy. You have many people and many energies at your side. You have friends who can console you, can comfort you. You have, like, you know, the protection of angels, all the beautiful things, all the spiritual things. You have, like, God to rely upon. It is also a lot the card of faith and surrendering. And to be honest, that's the only answer to that card, because when mess comes to our lives, when something is dead, when there is a closure, when something is taken from us, that's a divine intervention. That's so big that it's not that what we decided, it just happened to us, has fallen on us, and the only answer to that situation is to surrender to the divine, to have faith, to have alignment, to have hope. That's the card of the hope. Yeah, so you guys surrender and wait a bit till something, like, you know, something will be resolved on its own. There's gonna be resolution, so that's a big promise. You just have hope. You don't give up to despair. Despair is a, you know, mortal sin. And stay hopeful, stay faithful. And there is a guiding star. There is a light of the star guiding you, even if it is the dark night, you know. Next one is Virgo. Virgo people. For you, it's happening in the 4th house of home. God Almighty. Virgos go Tower for the last eclipse. I'm sorry, of course, like, sorry for that. I remember because I'm Virgo rising, so obviously I remember more about, like, Virgo cards. And I also remember readings for some other people. Not saying that I have amnesia, you know, about other signs. But of course, because I'm thinking of this reading for myself. Yeah, actually, Tower moment was a very appropriate description. But yeah, in case any other Virgos got some, like, sudden change in the way how you think, or some person from the past surfaced in your life, let me know. Basically, everybody, let me know how the Gemini eclipse worked for you. This one is in the 4th house of your home, of house, of your relationship, of your family, yeah, of people who are around you. Virgos, you got the Sun. Gonna be not that bad after all. You also got 2 of Wands. Someone just got 2 of Wands. Cancer got 2 of Wands. And Prince of Pentacles. That's you. Very finally, the Sun is eclipsed during this new moon. But that's going to be grand, because that's not the card of the eclipse. It's a good card. I find from all the tarot cards in the deck, Sun the most difficult to talk about, because I don't have anything to say. There is absolutely no shadow to this card. It is success, it is enlightenment, it is bliss, it is peace, insight, tranquility, all good things. Like, you know, your inner child nurtured, and like, you know, you are riding high on a horse, like, you know. I wanted to say something, but I think, like, because Sun is shedding light on something, like, you know, and Sun is ourselves, like, you know, our ego and so on. I think that some light would be brought to the dark places, to actually those empty places, very dark places, places where the lightning bolt has striken, like on the tower cards that we had in the reading for Gemini eclipse. And now those towers are burnt, so there are ashes, there are coals, like, you know, it's like empty fields. But then the sun will shine on those empty places, so that new life might start growing out of it. There are going to be some absolutely amazing things coming your way, Virgos, during this new moon. I think we so much deserve it. Maybe some change, like, you know, in your house situation, in your relationship with your family, you know, something that would bring you happiness and bliss, some good news, something. Then there's absolutely everyone. We are starting some new beginning with this new moon. We're all, I said shuffling the cards at the very start of the reading that we will all get lots of 2s and 3s. Lots of people are getting 2s and 3s, like, you know, lots of signs, because it's about starting the new way. It's about like new way of thinking, new paradigms, yeah, all those things before the great conjunction. And it is the key word, I suppose, for this new moon, is the threshold, is the portal. We need to go through the portal. And like when the baby is born, it also goes through the portal of the mama's womb, you know. Sorry for that, it's such an awkward comparison, but it is like, it is the final moments before we can be reborn in something new. And then Princess of Pentacles, that's you, that's Virgo, Taurus of Capricorn. So what it speaks to me about is that because Saturn and Jupiter are moving out of Capricorn and conjuncting in the air sign, the attention will be finally removed from earth signs and from earth energy to air signs. It's now time for the air signs to take the torch in this marathon. And for earth signs, it is time to rest. Because although there were no major transits in Virgo, Virgo is obviously also in the spotlight because Uranus is in Taurus and there was this stellium in Capricorn. So all earth signs are affected because earth's energy is reigning the current situation. It's not going to be like this at the end of December. So for you guys, Princess, it's a page in usual cards. So it is a very youthful energy. It's the energy of the child. It is a kind of like, you know, time for you to just not feel this responsibility of carrying like Atlas on its shoulders, like, you know, all the burdens, the weight of the planet, you know. It is just kind of becoming a child again, still staying truthful, staying faithful, in alignment with your earth energy, but tapping into the youth energy, like, you know, because pages, princesses in this deck, that's a very youthful energy. It's actually also the card of new beginnings, like, you know, because pages start these court cards, like, you know, and that's, yeah, that's just new beginnings. It's something enthusiastic, something new to learn probably some material skills, like, you know, because it's pentacles, something to do with your hands and so on. But you're Virgos, you'll be good at it. Yeah, it's like going back to being a child after all this massive responsibility and so much heavy earth energy, which is sometimes too heavy even for earth signs, right? Next one is Libra, and for you that's the third house of communication, of siblings, no, not of siblings at all, of communication, of throat chakra, of speaking your truth. That's our third house. Our collective third house is Gemini, yeah? Maybe it's the house of siblings because Gemini is at twins. No? Who is good in astrology? Tell me in the comments. I don't remember. So for you, Libras, you got two princes and you got the lovers. Okay, let's have a look at the, yeah, that's what you got. So you got the Prince of Wands first. Prince of Wands, it is Sag, Aries, or Leo, you know. So it is some very active and proactive person. If that's a person, it can be a person. It can be that actually you would be connected with many people because you got court cards. So it's not lunation to spend alone, it's lunation to actually act, to see the visible results, like, you know, to probably speaking your truth, or yeah, you know, everything related to the Gemini's activities. So it's like ads, commercial, writing, speaking publicly, recording YouTube videos, starting a blog, like, you know, in case that's something you want as a new beginning, because we all are invited to explore new beginnings for ourselves, go for it. Like, you know, if you're thinking, oh, should I start it, should I not start it, oh, I want it to be like, you know, this and this, maybe start my own little business, like, should I do it or not? Your answer is yes. It's just that the whole idea is that Prince of Wands is this fire, so it is like action, it is compassion about the project, it's something really dear to your soul, something you're really passionate about. And Knight of Pentacles, it is this very mature, very earthy, very grounded knight. He is all about like thinking before acting, being really cautious. So he's like a Capricorn, yeah, so it is Capricorn, Taurus, or Virgo, like, you know, those could be two people who would be at your side and would help you out to, like, you know, to speak your truth, to align with yourself more. But if not, yeah, if not, that's just that some action is required, some action which would combine your passion about the project or the intention or the idea with a little bit of the earthly energy as well. If you haven't watched the intro, yeah, no surprise ones are coming, because there is a sun eclipse, and the lunation in Sag is trining the Mars in Aries, so there is lots of fire energy and lots of signs got wands, you know. But in the middle you have the Lovers. Let's start with the most straightforward like look at this card, that it's just a harmony in love, like, you know, maybe like you will have a total refreshment in the relationship with your partner after, again, after maybe speaking the truth, after maybe talking to each other, like, you know, or doing something like related to speaking like together, maybe singing together, I don't know, maybe writing together, maybe, I don't know, writing postcards to your family, like, you know, and sending them to by post or something, I don't know. Post is also like air, those like air signs. But the Lovers are Gemini, so it can mean, to be honest, good relationship and alignment and harmony between absolutely everyone. It's not necessarily romantic love. That can be love to your friend, love to your family, to your siblings, to your child, to yourself as well. Total alignment, making peace with yourself, marrying the oppositions, dualities within yourself. That's what Lovers are about. But Lovers are a Gemini card, and what this makes me think that maybe you will see some results that were initiated or released during the time of the full moon in Gemini. Think what was your state of mind, your, I don't know, intentions, what was happening 2 weeks ago around this eclipse in Gemini, full moon eclipse, and maybe you would see some results of it during this time. Well, after all, maybe 2 handsome men would appear in your life trying to become your lovers. That's also possible. I hope this would happen, but for all lovely Libras out there who are interested in this, of course. And then, last but not least, Scorpio. Yeah, Scorpio, for you it's happening in your second house of finances and of self-value and of, like, yeah, of money. Scorpios, you are completing the path, basically. This card and its vibe is very similar to death. It's just that everyone is afraid of death as a card, and everyone loves this card. But yeah, it is a completion of the past. That's the last card of tarot. It is finalizing something and finding brand new you. It can also mean long travel, in case you're thinking. It might mean relocation to another country or some big change. But in general, that's just a very peaceful closure. That feeling that you have ended the chapter of your life, and your next step would be like tabula rasa, the empty tablet, you know, the empty page. It is just about the completion of ascending to a completely new level. It's like, yeah. The world card is extremely peaceful, and it is solemn in a way. It means that you have been through absolutely everything, that you have been through so many things, and you won. You made the lessons that needed to be made, you learned a lot, and as a result you re-emerge as a brand new person. And congratulations on this. And then you got to interesting cards, because you got the Six of Pentacles, and that's exactly related to your second house, because this card is speaking of money. And what this card is about is primarily about giving alms, so sharing whatever you have with the others. I don't know, as a way of working out with your karma during this lunation. And it is Christmas time after all. Think about donating maybe to some charity, starting thinking more about the people who are less privileged than you, like, you know, even if it is like $2, like, you know, on the website of some charity which feeds children or saves animals, whatever you prefer, like, you know. And because this balance of this financial retribution, like, you know, sharing what you earned with someone, not sitting on it, it keeps the money flowing, it keeps the energy of the money in constant movement, and this eventually would bring you more money. That's why they say that you need to share in order to have more, because if you have like something and you're sitting on it, money doesn't like it. It's just not even something esoteric. It is something that, like, you know, I think it exists, at least in Russia, it exists kind of like, you know, at the level of the proverb. We never have much money. We were extremely poor when I was a kid, but still, like, you know, my mom would be saying that you need to spend money because, like, you know, you need to keep this flow going. Otherwise, if you're sitting on money, you will never have money, you know. And this is something along those lines. So I don't know, think of how you can share your money, and I think that this will bring you more financial stability in return, so that would work in your own favor. Then the last card, don't be afraid, is the Three of Swords. Yeah, so yes, I know it's a card of broken heart, of sorrow, of, like, you know, it's such a painful card in the tarot. But I want to think quite differently, because before I started shuffling cards at the very start, I said many people will be getting 2s and 3s, because we are at the new start, we're passing through the gate, we're opening the new doors. You got the 3. 3 is initial processes. Swords is intellectual activity, mental processes, and so on. So it is about new ideas. And I promise you, we all be re-energized, because Mars is re-energized by Mercury. And Mercury is the air sign, planet, energy, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So I absolutely encourage you to write a list of your ideas, plans, inventive projects, some thoughts that needs to be written. If it is related to the second house matter, the better, like, you know, ideas how you can make more money, or how you can do more self-love, gratitude, do like kind of like boost your self-value and all those things. That's what I want it to be for you. Yes, it is a card of the broken heart, but after the broken heart we usually recover, and we recover brand new people. And still, I don't want you to dwell on the meaning of broken heart, because those are just the initial steps of inventing new ideas. That's what it essentially is about. That's how I see it. Especially in this deck, it is very spiritual, because here, like, you know, you can see, like, it looks like an altar. There are those three swords, so it looks like a ritual. It looks like ritual big time. And it is ultimately about a spiritual growth. Even if this new moon will bring you a little bit of heartbreak, or, like, you know, some sudden grief or some bad memories, we grow through this. We grow through pain. That's a big promise. And if you take it, like, you know, looking at it from a distance, not pitying yourself, not victimizing yourself, but just knowing that, okay, this is a bit of pain, I'll go through it, I grow through it, and I will be the world card. I will be the card of completion, of totally accomplished person. That's what it is. I hope I've done every sign. I hope I didn't miss anyone. And I just wanted to use an oracle card for all of us. This Peace Oracle by Tony Carmine Salerno, a very, I think, very inspired artist, which has absolutely beautiful, beautiful artistry in his cards, in the pictures that he creates. I like that style very much. It's kind of this, it's abstract enough for me. I like abstract. I love abstract art. I don't really love, like, representational art. That's not my cup of tea. But more like abstract, I find it easier to work with, because when it is abstract, I can think more. It kind of sparks my associations better than when it is just, I don't know, like certain decks just use very, very representational art, very realistic art, like 19th century style of art. Yeah. So let's have a look at our final message for the new moon in Sag, combined with this beautiful solar eclipse. Great. The card is persistence. That's just beautiful. Look how Sag it is in its vibe, yeah? So it is like glowy, it is fiery. There is this tree. I hope you can see it well. So look, there is this tree. It has this glowy foliage, and there are words here. Words as speech. Words are words. So words are Mercury, and Mercury is conjunct this new moon and the eclipse. So the solar eclipse as well, like, you know, and sun is conjunct with the moon, so, and in fire sign, so there is a lot of light, a lot of air, a lot of kind of reshuffling of cards, and there's a glowing heart in the middle of it. Yeah, so persistence, I suppose, is our keywords. It is like, you know, the final kind of like moment of resilience, of persistence. We are almost done with 2020. We are at the end of the road, and so far we survived. It would be really sad and pity to give up 2 meters before we actually reach the goal. It would be very much shame to die at the last minutes of war. So we need to persist. We just need to persist a little bit longer. We are all bloody tired of persisting, but we need to do it. And there is a massive support in this card, because there is fire. The heart is purified through this fire and light, surrendering it. So it is ultimately about alchemy. It is keep trying, and you will purify your heart through this, like, turmoils, through the burning flames, through the lashing rains. It reminds me of the plot of, you know, the Mozart's opera, The Magic Flute, you know, where the main characters, when they are in this Masonic temple, they need to go through trials by fire and through trial by water. So we have been through those trials. We just need to persist a little bit longer, and I wish all of us will. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time, before the new year, for the final full moon of 2020, full moon in Cancer. And then we start 2021 with the nation in Capricorn. Capricorns, we can do it. We need to survive a bit longer with Saturn and Jupiter before they move out. And it will change a lot for all of us. It will bring us some fresh air and some fresh, brand new starts and new ways of looking at things and so on. For the time being, I wish you very good time till I see you next time, and good Christmas shopping, and probably the easing of lockdowns and the opportunity to see your friends, reconnect with the dear ones, with your families, like, you know, and most important, making peace inside. Making peace inside and be bold. The motto of this new moon: fortune favors the brave. Be brave, dream big, act accordingly. See you. Bye.